Hey friends, welcome back to OG Universe. Thank you so much for stopping by today. On the turntable, we're taking a look at the brand new Masters of the Universe Revolution Masterverse. Let's call these 2.0 figures because they are a leap and bound superior to the previous Masterverse figures that we've been getting for the past few years. Now, this is based on the animation from Netflix series, Masters of the Universe Revolution. Check it out. It's pretty damn good in comparison to some of the other seasons that we've gotten. I think this one really found its niche, and man, it just entertains. I really enjoyed it. So to see these figures at my comic book store, because it's a whole other story trying to get these Masters figures at Canadian retail, not going to happen. You're going to have to go to online specialty stores to find these figures. So my comic book store was able to secure an entire wave. I picked them up. Very happy to get these figures in my collection. Now let's talk about these figures. Now, Masters of the Universe has been a point of contention, as I said. Availability has been very hard to come by. They sell out extremely quickly. These figures do have a really rabid fan base, and I think Mattel really needs to up their game on availability, production-wise, and just get these figures out into the hands of collectors and not having to go to a secondary market to pick these figures up. Now, these figures, this one in particular here, we're taking a look at the Battle Armor He-Man, a very classic character. Every line has to have a He-Man. And of course, He-Man is either love or hate. Sometimes they kill it on the head sculpt, the body proportions, and sometimes they just miss the ball completely on all marks. But one thing I will say about this figure is the packaging. Massive improvement in packaging. Let's just move him out of the way for a moment, and we'll take a look at this packaging because it is absolutely superb. Some of the best artwork I've seen for a Masters of the Universe figure. We got the Eternity Guards, kind of basically a snapshot from the animated series. Andrea on the back, on the side, and then on the back here you do have some action figure photography of the figure, some glamour shots of what you're getting, battle damaged armor, the harness, the battle axe, some fisted hands, a little write-up, the cross sell on the other figures available. So yeah, this is some real premium packaging, absolutely beautiful artwork as well. Can't stress enough how good this is. I think McFarlane Toys really just needs to step up their game. Like, I mean, these are a little bit more expensive for sure. They're not at that $25 price range. I picked these up for about $35, which is kind of the price in Canada here for the collector series figures. And the collector series figures, again, we've talked about it before, there's not enough value in that package to justify the $40 price point that you're getting these figures for. If you're lucky, Walmart will have them online at a sale price. GameStop, if you have an Edge card, you'll save a few dollars there. But just the difference in packaging, you can tell. I'm willing to pay an extra couple dollars for premium packaging like this, and you're getting some really beautiful articulated action figures that, well, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to make you happy, right? Cool to have on the shelf. You're happy to have them in your collection. This is definitely hitting that spot. Now, what I found really interesting as well is you do get this backing card. So you got a very small window, tons of artwork. So I kind of like this approach because, you know, when you open up the packaging, you have this on the side here, and it gives you kind of indication what's all in the packaging on the side. You just pop this top section open, you pull it out, and basically they're kind of going the Hasbro way Mattel is, in the fact that you got this parchment paper that has all the accessories. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch to have the accessories packed on the side. Your real main focus is that action figure. And man, it's an incredible action figure. So for some of the accessories you do get this extra chest piece with the battle damage. Looks really nice, very well done. You do get two fisted hands as well. They're both the same size. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Kid Flash, from that Crisis on Infinite Earth series. What the heck was that, McFarlane? But yeah, same size, fisted hands, knockout punch. You also get the battle harness, which is, of course, a staple in every He-Man. You know, the classic tradition, I really appreciate that they included, of course, the battle armor. I love that aspect, but the new kind of classic battle harness, which is so important. So you can basically get another He-Man figure, keep one in battle armor mode, and have one in this classic mode. So I definitely think I'm going to get another one of these He-Mans if I come across it. It isn't the same as the original from the Masterverse. This battle harness is quite different with the snapping of the straps here. Pretty much the H is going to look the same. Maybe just a little bit different, but not much. The red squares as well. You got the 3 of those on each side. But yeah, it's quite nice. And the figure itself. You got this battle axe, which is really nicely painted with the 2 tones, that really bright silver. You got some battle damage in the axe. It's been through some stuff, seen some action. Just really nice colors. Great paint job on that. So I'm just going to pop this out of his hand for a moment. And you got the battle armor He-Man. Now this head sculpt, you know, it makes or break a figure. He-Man's got to have that genuinely stoic, powerful look. And this one I think captures it quite well. Now, with the battle armor, it does kind of make him look like he has no neck. So it's a little high up on the body buck. But once you take it off, we'll see how it looks with just the harness. And there's some really nice detail throughout this battle armor. It's got a little bit of a dry brush to it. The metallic silver they use looks fantastic. Really nicely sculpted. Now for the figure as well, it doesn't have these bright yellow colors. Like on the very first Masterverse He-Man, he had this really god-awful bright plastic yellow, and I just think it looked terrible. I ended up repainting that. And this is like something I would have done. I would have put a nice copper finish, and it looks fantastic. It has a nice metallic sheen to it, as well as the arm guard as well. Looks very nicely done. The boots have that 2-tone color effect running through the straps and the fur lining on the top of the boots. Now, one thing I will point out that's different from the other Masterverse figures is the loincloth. The loincloth in the originals were very hard, rigid plastic. I think to give better motion in the legs, they went with a softer rubber material, and it really does help give you better leg articulation. You can get the leg up all the way, no problem, and it's not hindered whatsoever. So very nicely done there. All right, now we're gonna come the time we're gonna pop this armor off. I've never popped it off on film. This is the first time I'm popping it off to begin with, but I think we just pop off these straps at the top. Okay, so it's nice and easy so far. And we'll take a look at that new body buck. So these guys are gonna have a brand new body buck. All right, so it comes off nice and easy. Nothing too drastic here, no toy surgery required. So you're gonna have this new He-Man body buck. Now he does have this wider, more burly chest, which I really appreciate, because He-Man's definitely gonna be ripped, jacked. In that original Masterverse one, his chest was a bit more narrow, and it had more like anime proportions, let's put it as we can. The anime proportions where it's elongated legs, shorter head, smaller head, kind of a narrower chest, bigger arms. It just, I don't know, it didn't suit it too well. But I think this definitely looks like a He-Man figure. This new buck is amazing. The back just looks massive and broad as well. Looks really good. Now we're gonna get that new battle harness on this figure as well. Take a look at that. So we just have a couple snaps in the back here. All right, just give me a sec, guys. We'll get this on the He-Man figure. All right, so it's going on nice and easy so far. I don't want to jinx things. All right, this one's a little stiffer to get on. All right, there we go. So it wasn't too bad. Not the worst thing to try and get on here. And there you go. Man, you got a classic looking He-Man that looks just fantastic. Really nice. So let's talk about articulation on these guys. Now, first, before we get into articulation, I just want to discuss the overall feel of this figure, the quality of this figure as well. Let's just move this out of the way for a moment. The overall feel of this figure is really important. Certain figures, you know, unfortunately, some well, not too many, probably like maybe 5 or 6 that have this hollowness to it, that don't really have that genuine solid plastic. This figure, man, it feels really good. The plastic they use, it's solid and thick, and it has a really nice matte finish, a really nice texture to it. It feels quality, feels like a premium product that you got in your hand here. And I really appreciate that. Mattel really knocked it out of the park with this figure. So, articulation. So we got the head on a ball joint here. Not too much for the side attitude like a McFarlane figure, but not too bad. You have the ball joints at the shoulder, bicep cut, double jointed pinless elbows, wrist articulation on a ball joint. For the ab crunch, you don't have a ton of motion in there. Unfortunately, you do have the cut at the torso, at the waist, ball joints at the hips with some pretty good movement. You have a slice at the upper thigh as well to give an extra range of motion. Double jointed, pinless knees. You got articulation at the boot at the top. You have ankle pivot, rocker, ball joints as well. So it's fully articulated. You're going to have no problem getting this guy into some cool action poses as well. Now, I'm sure you have some other Masterverse figures, or if this is your first one, congratulations, there you go. But you can armor them up with a lot of weapons. We got a lot of power swords and stuff like that. So we're going to do a short where we're going to armor this guy up to the max. But what I want to kind of bring in is some previous Masterverse figures and see how they compare to this new body buck that we got here from Masterverse. So this was the original He-Man that came out in this series quite a few years ago. And as you can see, quite a bit smaller as well. So these were 7-inch figures, the original ones. These are about 7.345 maybe. Definitely a little bit taller, massive proportion-wise as well. And just seeing that back to back, you got quite a bit of a height difference. So scaling could be an issue with your previous Masterverse figures. These new ones, let's call them the 2.0, are on a bigger, stronger, more fierce-looking body buck, and they do have a bit more of a stature to them compared to the originals, which, you know, for its time, had a pretty good body buck. I really do enjoy this custom I made here. Like I said, previously this was a really bright, horrible, toyish yellow. Had to get rid of that. Repainted that in a dull kind of matte gold with a bit of dry brushing on it. Swapped out its head because, yeah, well, that original head, which we'll take a look at here, was pretty bad, unfortunately. I really wanted to like this head sculpt, and man, it just didn't do it. He had such a goofy look about him. Just didn't meet the standards or the requirements for a really good Masters of the Universe He-Man figure. So yeah, we definitely got rid of that. Faker came with a couple extra heads, and we popped those on, and we got this really nice head sculpt. I think they should have used this one as this main head sculpt really for the Masterverse figures. Now he does have the red eyes. I do have to get around to try and paint in those blue. It's going to be a little bit of a delicate operation, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to try and pick up another Fakor, which is really cheap nowadays here at Toys R Us. I think he's like maybe 16, 17 bucks. So we'll definitely do that. But yeah, this one turned out really nice. And this has been my go-to He-Man figure for, well, since I customized it. But I think it's going to change with this one. This one here is definitely heads and shoulders above in quality and sculpt, detailing, texture. Just feels like a premium action figure. Unfortunately, some of my previous Masterverse figures did have a bit of a loose joint. So what I do is get some clear nail polish, work it into the joint, let it sit for a few minutes, and work it in, and it tightens up the joints really nicely. That was a bit of a problem with these guys here. This guy, not a single joint issue, all nice and tight, and yeah, he just looks fantastic. So I want to bring in a couple other He-Man figures for comparison. We got this one here, which is from the Masters of the Universe Classics. This was a 2-pack version with Superman, came with a comic book. I believe it was DC Comics Presents issue 47, which was the very first appearance of He-Man. Really nice. Really glad to have that 2-pack in my collection. But you can see the huge difference. This figure is probably, probably at least almost 12, 13 years old. Definitely was outstanding for its time. It still is one of the nicest looking figures of He-Man. But comparison-wise, size is huge difference. This did have a really dark skin tone as well, which you kind of saw from the animated series back in the 80s. Definitely had that darker skin tone We've got a lighter skin tone on this version of He-Man as well. But aesthetically, you know, this is He-Man for sure. Just with that first appearance colors. Looks fantastic. Another figure here. This one here is another one of my absolute favorites. This is the 40th anniversary He-Man with a little bit of a custom. We put basically a He-Man Origins figure head sculpt on there because I wasn't too crazy about the original head sculpt that came on there. I like this one. This feels like a updated animated version of He-Man in the 40th anniversary garb. So yeah, this one looks really good. Now, body buck wise as well, this newer one does stand a bit taller, but man, both of them look great on the shelf, and I'm really glad to have this version of He-Man as well. This was super difficult to find when it first came out. It sold out so quick. I managed to snag a couple at Toys R Us, and yeah, I've seen him once, and that was it. So I'm very happy to get this figure. He is absolutely outstanding. Unfortunately, he did run into some issues with articulation. His joints were so loose, I did have to do the clear nail polish kind of toy surgery on him, and I'm glad to say his joints are nice and tight. Still super posable, and what a fantastic figure to have in the collection as well. So, as a Masterverse collector, we did get a lot of these Origin figures here at retail in Canada, and I did pick up the one He-Man because I really like that head sculpt, but just comparing these two, I swapped the 40th anniversary head sculpt, put it on this figure. They are just so tiny and squatty, you know. It's just I couldn't get invested in this line just because of the squatty proportions. You got a pretty good upper torso, some, you know, decent proportions, very He-Man bulked out, but the legs were just so short, squatty. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't get invested in this line. Picked up one figure, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. Now, with the new animated cartoon line that's coming out as well, alongside with his 2.0 Masterverse figures, I'm probably going to dabble in those because there is a new body buck. They do stand taller than these previous versions of the Origin figures. So I'm definitely going to dabble a little bit. I'm definitely going to pick up Trapjaw and probably Tila because she looks really good. Really like just jumps off the animation, Man at Arms. Oh, hell, I'm probably going to get the entire line. Don't know if I'm going to open them because I really like the way they look unpackaged. If they do come to Canadian retail, because the only place that has them is my comic book store where I picked up these Masterverse figures, and they're on hold for me right now. I'll be picking them up very shortly. If they do come to Canadian retail, we'll be buying multiples because I want to get some customs. I want to do some playing around with these figures because they do look pretty cool. But yeah, Masterverse, I think is just, in my opinion, better than the Origins, but I could see people really liking the Origins for that classic aesthetic. And I never had a lot of these He-Man figures as a kid, so kind of getting back into this from watching the show and some DVDs of the classic show and, of course, the 2000X show and the Netflix series kind of gets my collective, you know, juices flowing for getting some of these Masterverse figures. And, of course, maybe a couple of the Origins just for customs and stuff like that. But I'm primarily a DC multiverse channel. I do love those figures so much, but I want to grab a couple of them and just see how they compare with this new He-Man. So this is my custom Shazam Fury of the Gods figure with that Superboy head sculpt on it to give it just more of a superheroic look. I really don't like collecting figures that have that likeness of an actor. And it was a great Zachary Levi head sculpt, don't get me wrong, but I prefer something more comic book style than an actual actor's head sculpt. And these two as well. Height, you know, He-Man does sit taller, which is cool. I'd like to have a bigger He-Man because I think he should be that way. Another bigger figure from the DC Multiverse lineup is a bit of a custom. This is Lobo. I really like the way these two scale up. They're very close in height. He-Man, I definitely picture him as a bigger character, bigger figure. And Lobo definitely is a powerful figure and tall in stature. This guy did need a lot of work because, man, it was just missing paint apps like crazy. We're going to get a lot more detailed look at this one when we compare it with the Space Hog, Lobo and Space Hog's two-pack set that we just picked up a little while ago. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a review because, unfortunately, it was damaged inside the box. GameStop was very good. They returned it. They sent me out a new one. It should be here tomorrow, hopefully, by the tracking. and we'll get to work on that. So I am super pumped to have that Lobo with a double head sculpt, the Space Hog as well. But I really like the way these two guys look, and we'll do a full comparison review once we get that in hand. Now, the figure that is really important to sit in with He-Man and the Masters, you know, he first appeared in DC Comics Presents, and he fought Superman. Skeletor possessed Superman, and we got these two guys here together. So I really like the way these two guys sit together. This is my definitive Superman with the extended torso, new neck peg with the extension. And man, I like the height comparison. You know, we're almost on par. Of course, Superman is going to be a bigger, beefier figure in character and stature. So I like to have these two guys together like this. I don't want my He-Man to really overpower in that sense. I want them to be about the same height. So I'm glad they are. And I'm definitely excited to see these two guys together and look so good. We're definitely going to do some shorts, have some battle scenes going on with these two guys. But yeah, in comparison, these figures, this Masterverse line, you do get a lot of action figure and high quality action figure. I really do like the battle armor. It does sit a little bit high. I almost wish that it would have came down right about there and just get rid of this top lip piece here. I think it would have been a little bit better for the neck articulation. But overall, this is an incredible figure. This is a massively improved version of He-Man that we're getting compared to what we had previously with the Masterverse figures. I don't think Mattel was ready to really put out a really collector series of figures that, man, the collector series just, they had some great figures in Masterverse, don't get me wrong, but then they had some that you really had to tweak, paint, customize to get into that level of a McFarlane, or even some of them Hasbro Marvel Legend figures, or some of the Black Series that are really high quality and look fantastic. But this is the step in the right direction for a classic action figure series that's lasted over 40 years. I think this is the treatment and justice that these figures need. They need to be like this. Highest quality, look fantastic, great accessories, beautiful packaging. I'm so into this line. I cannot wait to see what we get next. We're going to be reviewing some of these other figures and mixing them into my DC Multiverse line. We're going to try a couple different things. But yeah, guys, if you're on the fence, jump over that fence, smash it down, and grab these figures. You're not going to be disappointed. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're going to be starting a new Masterverse playlist on my channel. We do have a massive playlist of DC Multiverse figures as well. So if you want to check those out, feel free. And again, guys, have an awesome, awesome day, and we'll see you next time.